And 3, 2, 1, boom! And we're back with another episode of Socratic Gamers. This episode brought to you by Zenreal Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and/or accessories. We also got a hoodie at zenrealclothingco.com. Use code SGPodcast for 20% off select items. Okay, so this morning was the launch abort mission, or the abortion. The abort mission
Okay.
via SpaceX.
Yeah.
So basically, all right, you want to go with a rundown of like what it was, Vish?
So before they could do a manned mission using SpaceX rockets, they have to do one launch abort. No, launch abort test. So like if something does happen, and what is the scenario to save the crews that would be on the ship.
So basically, it was like a dry run of a catastrophe.
Yeah.
So like, if something bad happened, we're gonna do like a test run and see what we would do to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Basically, essentially.
Yeah, like everything is whatever's been preset. This is what the same thing that they'll be in. If anything does go wrong, these are
the precautions that they
this would be
the
process that it would go through.
Process.
Yeah.
But
they had two options in this. So the two options were doing. You can do it in a simulation versus an actual test, like an actual like
VR simulation, or like a real like.
No, like a simulation, like in a program.
Oh, okay, cool.
You can run the test of this simulation in a program that is acceptable under NASA's thing, which is what is Boeing going to do. Boeing does not want to do a physical test.
Boeing 747?
No, like Boeing as the company that makes things. So they also make rockets.
Oh, okay, didn't know that. But is it the same thing, Boeing 747?
No, Boeing 747 is a
type of plane?
Or it's like Airbus or something. 747.
Okay.
It's like that's the name. Yeah, you're mixing two things there. It's Boeing as a company.
Guy,
yeah,
so
Boeing is just like a company.
Okay, yeah.
And then so SpaceX decided to do the actual physical test of it. And I believe NASA did the same thing kind of somewhat recently, but I wasn't paying attention about that when that was happening. So they did a physical test, and that happened. They've been waiting. They wanted to do it on Saturday, and today's Sunday that we're recording this. But the weather conditions, it's all dependent upon what the weather conditions. So even like today, it was delayed a couple hours till the weather hit the right thing that they wanted. Yeah.
That's interesting though, because it's like you have to wait for these perfect circumstances.
Yeah.
But if a disaster hit, you never know when the perfect circumstance would be, right?
No. The weather is always going to be the same thing.
Oh, okay. Because it's about launch.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand. Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah, weather will always be the same.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't launch the rocket on a bad day.
Yeah. They've had times where normal, like even just a normal, not a person mission, they would have to cancel the launch because just the weather was bad.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So basically, all right. So what's the difference between like a regular rocket and a SpaceX rocket? Like, what is SpaceX so important for? Like with their
as a company, it's a private company, right? That's doing space missions.
No, but I mean, like, what is their like flagship thing? Those like reverse thrusting rockets or something?
Well, yeah, but they weren't doing it for this.
No. But I'm saying like that's why SpaceX is so important.
Yeah. So what SpaceX does is makes the space flight cheaper because of their reusable rockets.
So and that's why it was established by Elon Musk, because he's like, why do we keep reusing?
Yeah.
Oh no, not reusing. He wants to reuse them. Why do we keep destroying what we built? And that's what makes it so expensive. Because like every time you got to build.
I was watching. There's I think you can find it on YouTube, but it's also on Disney Plus, like on National Geographic. They have one. I think the title was SpaceX to Mars or something like that.
Okay.
And basically, in order, so when NASA was doing these things, we were just doing like the moon was a long time ago, but a lot of the missions for NASA was doing was just to low orbit Earth, right? For releasing satellites or connecting to the Space Center. Yeah. So in order for us to go to Mars, we would eventually need to figure out how to reuse rockets. Like it was, so if you want to go to Mars, this needs to happen.
Okay, so he's pushing.
So
to go to
basically, the
Mars.
mission for SpaceX is to get to Mars, right? That's like
Oh,
seems
really?
like
Eh?
I believe that's what he has set up to design. Like
Interesting.
that's what it is. So like in order for that to even happen, you need to be able to reuse rockets because they would need to come back off of Mars or come back to Earth, like that kind of stuff needs to happen. So you need to be able to reuse them.
So you need to be able to like refuel it and then take off again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So this was just because when SpaceX started, they didn't have the reusable rockets yet, like when they first started.
Oh, okay, but that's what
But
that's what's making
their mission
differentiator.
is now, yeah, like many years ago, their mission they started, they decided it was to go to Mars, and it explains it a lot in that video.
Okay.
About like they needed to do all this and all the failures they had, but then eventually started to get the success that they needed for the reusable rockets.
So the primary objective of SpaceX is to off-world.
Yes, being a
Interesting.
multiplanetary species,
Interesting.
and that is this is a private company. It's not like a NASA or something.
See, all right. So what I find super interesting about Elon Musk is that he's developing all these things that are just for the common good of mankind.
Yeah.
Right. Humankind. Hashtag inclusivity. So.
Okay.
So what I find like fascinating is that like he in his Joe Rogan podcast he understands that as a species we can't collectively protections. So he can't effectively protect. Oh, sorry. I was thinking about the dog. We can't effectively agree upon something.
Yeah.
As a species, we need to be kind of like herded or controlled, and they've been doing this throughout time, right? Like religious organizations, like government organizations, like you got to take a select few of people,
Yeah.
and like they're going to govern and dictate what it is the larger body is going to do, right? Like it's just inevitable.
Yeah,
like too
yeah,
many
yeah,
people, you need to do this, right?
Yeah.
So like him looking from a like altruistic perspective, he's looking at like. Of course it's gonna make money, but he's like, if we can do certain things to affect ourselves positively and like protect our species in terms of like no like global warming. That's why he has like the electric cars, and then okay, well we need to off-world our species. Like he seems like a pioneer in terms of like protecting humankind. You know what I mean? Like where are we
the
gonna go
future
next?
of humankind.
The future of humankind, and also like with oh, what was that other thing that he does? A Neuralink. So he's like, okay,
Which is like, yeah, Neuralink. There's OpenAI. There's so many different things that he's in that that will affect us eventually in the future.
right, totally. Like so, Neuralink. It's like it's like connecting computers to our brains, yeah, which is like the inevitable next step. Because we're already cyborgs. Like I like the way he put that.
Yeah.
We don't realize that we're cyborgs, but we use our phones for everything.
Yeah.
You know? Like if you actually look at like the utility of a human being, technology is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us cyborgs.
Yeah.
You know, half human, half machine.
Yeah. So now it's just inevitable to be more like mixed into our bionics, into our biology or whatever.
Yeah, totally. It's sort of like breathing machines, right? Like if you
right, or like sometimes they add these pacers or something.
Stents, yeah,
stents, and these are things
technology
we're technically already doing, yeah. But now, no, we haven't touched the brain yet. That's
totally, exactly, yeah, for sure. So it got me thinking. Like, so I watched this. Well, we were watching the mini documentary on the pyramids and how. Theoretic, like it seems so logical watching that thing, but I mean, like how much of that is like me not understanding how science really works,
right.
But what they're proposing is that the pyramid was actually a power plant for generating electricity, right? And it makes complete sense because it's like, well, one of the things they're like, we've never seen fire if they're so primitive, the Egyptians, like we didn't see fire being used in like their hieroglyphics, or like we don't see soot anywhere. So it's like they must have used an alternate power source, right? So one of the people that was a big proponent of wireless electricity was Nikola Tesla. So he believed that you can transmit energy like electricity without the use of power lines,
right?
But it was Edison who like through his like marketing and like his like business dealings, you know, he wanted his technology to win,
Yeah.
you know, which is like the case for everything.
Yeah, right? I think even there was like a line from Elon Musk that said this, like he, like or Tesla was good, but in order to be successful, you need to do what was his name again? The guy that did
Edison.
Yeah, what he
steal
did.
ideas and do all that stuff.
Well,
right?
he didn't really steal ideas. I think he did have his own things, but he did it in a way that people might find like kind of like bad or something. But
manipulative.
It was manipulative. But like you kind of need to do that in order to be successful in this, in order to make your thing work, right?
Totally. Yeah. It all comes down to commerce, right?
Yeah.
Business, right? Making money.
Yeah.
So although Nikola Tesla had like altruistic ideas,
But I don't
didn't
think
have the business.
Yeah, and that's what you need
back
to.
it.
And I feel like that's what Elon Musk is
That's
doing.
what I'm saying. That totally. So like I think Elon Musk, because if you listen to him, you're like, oh, you're running on a different level than all of us. Like you're seeing some like code in the matrix.
Very much.
You know, but it makes sense. Like for example, like if you didn't, so he believes he's in a simulation, right? His simulation thing is not as outlandish as we're all thinking. Like, oh, this is like how I'm like, oh, my life's a video game. I'm in the simulation. Blah blah blah. Yeah. He actually like what was the thing? Like if inevitably we're gonna achieve a simulation state, if not, then what was the purpose of living? Because
like yeah, I mean that means we end somewhere. That's what that means.
Yeah, if we don't hit a simulation,
yeah,
then our species will end at some point.
Yeah.
Right, because like there's nothing to like, and what is a simulation if not like life that propagates other life?
Right.
Almost like gods.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyways, so if you look at it from that perspective, like he's looking at the world in a way that we're not all seeing, and he's like hacking the system.
Yeah.
Right. He's not breaking the rules, but he's hacking the rules. So like what you do is like you play within the rules, but you don't break the rules. You know the rules. If you read what's his name? That guy, Snowden. Yeah. Snowden's book on like hacking. He's like, a hacker actually knows more about the rules than the people that put them in place, because the hacker needs to understand how the rules work in order to break the rules. Yeah. So for example, he wasn't allowed to ship a flamethrower, so he called it not a flamethrower. Yeah. Right? It's like, well, technically it's not a flamethrower. Yeah. But like we're all looking at it like, how can this be legal? But you're hacking the rules, you know? Yeah. So I think what Elon Musk is seeing is like, we need an altruistic, which I've been agreeing with for a long time. Like you need to herd the masses. Like everything's run off business. Yeah, like right?
Think about it. Like a lot of his things, like for instance, like that the big rocket launch, the Falcon Heavy launch. Like normally it was just done with like a concrete brick or concrete, like a huge concrete block as the payload. But they put a Tesla car in there. So like this is a way to get like more enthusiastic about space stuff, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So like there's like things like he's doing hacking. That he's understanding. I mean, I think we can get that too, like with his Twitter, with the kind of things he's tweeting, like that sort of stuff feels like.
What I think he is not only a genius inventor, but a genius marketer. Yeah. At the end of the day, because like I put marketing down to hacking the human reward system, because that's all you're doing, right? Yeah. Like as a marketer. Like professionally, me, it's like all I'm trying to do is like, how do I get you to do what I want you to do? Yeah. But I want you to think it's your idea. Yeah. Right? You know what I mean? Like you gotta want to buy the product. I'm just gonna put everything in place to make your human reward system think I should buy this product. Right. Which is what he's doing. Everything he's doing is like, we're talking about him. It's so interesting, right? Yeah. So like he understands the rules of the game. But he's also like an altruist, right? So like he wants to like create. He was talking about this on Joe Rogan. His next thing, he hasn't like fully developed it yet, but he alluded to it. Is like an AC system that like it knows when you're coming home, so it turns itself on 20 minutes before, and then it knows when you leave, so it turns itself off. Whereas we run AC systems all the time. Yeah. So if you can create a intelligence system that understands patterns, then you can regulate energy to turn on and turn off accordingly, so you're not wasting energy. in the long run. You know what I mean? That's an altruistic thing. But he's like, how do I do it? I got to sell it to you, right?
Yeah.
Like, just like Tesla. Nikola, like, not the car, but like Nikola Tesla had a great idea, but he wasn't a good marketer. I think Elon Musk is a great inventor, but he understands he needs to also be a good marketer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So speaking of which, so the whole premise of the pyramids is that the obelisks are receivers for the wireless electricity. So like the giant pyramid is actually powering a large majority of the world. So according to its placement, it's shooting electricity throughout the air safely.
Yeah.
Because Nikola Tesla said he proved that this can be done. But I think the Egyptians just capitalized on it, and then they were spreading that energy throughout the world via obelisks. That's why you can find obelisks around the world. Right? Makes complete sense. But the only other thing is, like, in the documentary we were watching, it's like, they're like, oh, if only we could harness this for the good of humankind. And you were saying, like, what do you, like, why is everyone talking about the good of humankind? Obviously they charged for this. You know, it totally makes sense, right? Like, why would the Egyptians, they're the most they're one of the largest races at the time. Right?
Yeah.
So how do you become large as a race? Commerce.
Right.
You had to have traded something. You know what I mean? Like, India was trading spices, China noodles, I don't really know. but like Egyptians, what were they trading? Electricity. That makes complete sense. Why were they the most dominant civilization at the time? What resource did they have to gift the world? Like, if, all right, so like, even looking in contemporary times, why is America the most dominant civilization right now? Like, city, right? Or like country. It's because they're trading on the world platform, in terms of, like, all of our consumer goods come from there. So if we're all buying American made products or like ideas, then that's going to push you at the top of the heap in terms of, like, world power. See what I'm saying? But now there's a shift, because now we're all buying our stuff from China. So now China's getting higher and higher. You know? It's all commerce. Or like Saudi Arabia, why are they so rich? Because of oil. So it's like, okay, so what did the Egyptians do that made them so powerful economically? They had to have been trading energy. It makes logical sense. But then it makes me feel stupid, because I have this, like, picture, a display picture of me in front of the pyramid, and it's like, why are you posing in front of a power plant? You know, it's like,
I mean, it's all, well, we tend to forget what it was, and
we, like, glorify it. We're like, oh, this was a tomb of, like, blah blah blah. And it's like, having been inside the pyramid and then watching that documentary, it totally makes sense, because, like, it's not built like a regular tomb. Like, when they're like, okay, this is the queen's tomb, and you're like, you look at it, you're like, okay, there's, like, inscriptions on the wall, there's, like, carvings, there's an obvious small enough tomb. This makes complete sense. But then, like, you go inside the Great Pyramid and there's nothing inside. So it's like, if this was just, like, a power plant, that could totally make sense, because you just need, like, people to be able to walk through and, like, regulate stuff. Like, oh, is the electricity doing well? All right, cool. You know?
I mean, they say it's older than what we think, right? That's because it's like there's no depictions of anything of them making it.
It's just totally, for sure.
So it's.
But theoretically, like, humans, maybe it was originally a power plant, but then later on people turned it into a tomb.
Maybe,
You know, that could have been that, because they didn't know what to do with it. They're like, oh, what is this thing? And they just came upon it. So they're like, let's just say it's a tomb. So maybe it was a tomb later on. You know?
I see what you're saying.
Right.
The usage of it changed.
Yeah, totally. Because they couldn't figure out, like, why did this giant structure be here? You know?
Okay, so the ones that they say are tombs, are they younger in age?
No, they're all built around the same time.
Oh.
Allegedly. Like,
the again, that is compared to, I'm thinking that if the big pyramids are the power plants and they're much older than the other ones, then it would make sense that they would copy that, thinking that it's a tomb, and then make the tombs based on that.
That makes sense. Yeah. So if they came upon it, they're like, oh, this must have been a burial ground.
Or something, and then they start to make their own look something similar, but if the age of it is different or younger than the actual big pyramids.
But if you're listening to this and you're like, well, what do you mean they came upon it? So another theory, highly probable theory, is that we've been through global catastrophes before, and it's wiped out like the majority of all of humankind.
Yeah. And
then the only people that were able to like repopulate the earth because they could live off the land were hunter-gatherers.
Right.
So like let's say there's an advanced civilization, because all religions talk about like the not all religions, all ancient things, like sects, they talk about like the Atlantis,
right,
like these ancient civilizations, the Sumerians. They talk about all these like ancient civilizations that came before what we know today. Like there's even like the Gold Age, the Bronze Age, the Silver Age, in like Greek history.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we know that we didn't just like each age was just us being wiped out and restarting?
Yeah,
makes logical sense. But yeah, so like if a hunter-gatherer came upon that and they're like, oh, it must be a tomb. So they started building smaller tombs to mirror that giant pyramid.
Or like he didn't know, he just thought of an answer, because those people that make up things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I know, it's a tomb. Yeah, we should make all tombs like this.
And totally. And that's actually, this is gonna be the original topic for this, but like the whole look into it thing.
Yeah.
So like we as a species, we can't know everything.
Yeah.
So like we rely on experts, right? Like you can't study engineering plus marketing plus business plus, like you can't add all this together. So you're going to come to another person who supposedly knows about it. Like if you think about going to the dentist, right? You're going to go to a hygienist who's going to clean your teeth. You don't know how to clean your own teeth. You're going to go to them as an expert.
Yeah.
Right? But what does that mean? We have to put our faith in someone else, that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? So like throughout history, like you were saying, like the guy's just like, yeah, it's a tomb. It's like, we're going to go to that leader and be like, what is this? And he doesn't want to lose his spot, be like, I don't know. So he's just like, that's a tomb.
Right. Yeah.
That's
what I think.
So I think but then you're like open to the pitfalls of like, what's real and what's not real.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're just allegedly this could be this. I mean, like it's funny that you're like looking into the past and I'm seeing into the future, like of this.
Yeah, true.
You're doing the total opposite.
Yeah,
but maybe there's something to be learned from the past to be added to the future.
What I think is that there's human characteristics that transcend time,
space and time.
Space and time. No, for real though. Think about it. We all rely on beliefs. Right? Because life is just a story we tell ourselves. So like we create religious systems all the time.
Yeah. Right.
And if you look at like ancient histories, the temples, and you look at today, we're still putting our faith in something else, something higher than us.
Yeah.
Even if you're like, I don't believe in God, you still put your faith in like nature. You believe that there's something bigger, because that's an innate human characteristic.
Right.
Another innate human characteristic is technology. So them creating a power plant to power their societies makes complete sense.
Right.
Like we're always going to look for innovation as a species.
Yeah.
So like I think in looking at the past and the future, you're looking at the same thing, because you're looking at humans.
Right.
Like anthropologically, how do humans operate?
Right, and we will probably do similar things. Like,
yeah, totally. So that's why it's not out of the realm of possible. So like when I was seeing all those things about like, oh, aliens came down and they built the pyramids, blah blah, I was like, that makes no sense. Like maybe if that was true, that's cool. But like when seeing this power plant thing, I was like, this makes way more sense than anything I've ever seen. Because it's like, I don't think maybe they would put a lot of money into a tomb, because that's the story that I was sold when I went there. They're like, oh, it's a giant tomb. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Us as a species, we're just trying to show like we have a bigger car than the other person, right? But like this makes even more sense in that, like, why would they not look for alternate power sources other than fire?
Right.
Like how primitive were they?
Like you're in a big, you're in a big city. Like you would have to, I think,
because they were big cities, right?
Yeah.
So what? Yeah. So the whole city of Egypt was powered by fire. That makes no sense.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And even like how, so it's like, how did it generate power? It was hydropower. So there was like a water system underneath the pyramid because the Nile River,
Yeah.
like
So that date back. I
aquifer.
believe that adds to the timeline being
Oh, much older.
much
Yeah,
older.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So like, so that's a great example too. It's like, okay, they were using hydropower. We use hydropower, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like the elements that, what if you look in the documentary, the elements that they make out of the pyramid are the same things that they make out of like wiring that passes electricity. So it's like,
Right.
yeah, we're just redoing, which is different inventions, but we're doing the same thing, right? Even like the top of the pyramid being gold, and gold's the primary conductor for passing electricity,
Right.
right? Because like gold insulated things, we have gold in our wires, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, if the top was gold, then maybe they were shooting out the energy wirelessly through the top to the obelisks.
Yeah. Right.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah. The examples they were giving were pretty good.
Yeah, because how like it makes no sense to me. Like, how could you power a giant city off of fire?
Yeah.
How much wood did you have to burn?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Wouldn't you have like wiped out a giant forest?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, also like yeah, that's something that be interesting to learn more about. If they should never like end like the just like think that we've already solved everything, right? Like that's the thing that I think that's the issue here too. Is like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I think we know what the pyramids are for, and then like kind of like stop.
Right.
So,
Totally.
Like maybe these sort of things kind of help. Like maybe we should look back into it again and.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But see, no, the problem though is like
persuade
you have systems in place like you have like archaeologists, and now they've jumped degrees because it's like, oh no, actually what we tell you is completely wrong. You know, you're like, ah, damn. So it's really worthless.
Yeah.
You know.
But it shouldn't be like that. But anyway, that's sometimes it happens because nobody wants to lose their job, right?
Yeah, totally. So like, all right, so another good example of like, to circle back to SpaceX, like another good example of like humans recurring the same thing is like Elon Musk would just be like a genius inventor during those times as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like who's the one who built the pyramid? You must have had some crazy dude that was like, I bet you we could make it huge.
Right.
You know, like
yeah.
Just like Elon Musk. And who knows, like, because like, so another thing I saw was that a theory is that they see pyramids on Mars, right? And if we are able to off-world, who knows if Mars used to be like a hospitable planet? You know, like what freaked me out was like the Chernobyl thing when they couldn't figure out how to shut off the radioactive stuff, right?
Right.
So what if Mars's civilization, they were using radioactive, this is total speculation and theory, but like if they were using like radiation too, and then a disaster happened just like Chernobyl, and then they couldn't figure it out, so now the entire planet's screwed, right? Because they said like the disaster will last like 5,000 years or 500,000 years, something like that. So maybe at this point in time we're seeing Mars as it's radioactive and, you know, bad.
Or that it, I mean, yeah.
Or it's like it's already passed, and now the Earth doesn't know how to, the Mars doesn't know how to like fix itself.
Yeah, maybe. True.
Like it makes complete, because if we can come up with, so like when this was like proposed in the beginning, we didn't have SpaceX's ability to like reuse rockets,
right,
or reverse thrust, right?
Yeah.
So to us it was like, no, why would there be another? We can't even leave this planet. Like, why would there be another thing? But in like less than 200 years, look how far we've come.
Right.
It's only been 200 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
World War I to now. Like, when did the first plane get invented? Like less than 200 years.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So imagine in 1,000 years, like, what are we going to have? Like, the rate of change is so high. So now it seems logical that you could have an off-worlded species on there. So if there are pyramids on Mars, maybe the Egyptians figured out how to off-world as well, and they're like, oh, let's like share our energy with Mars, so they create a pyramid there as a power plant as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's it's all starting to make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Looking at our own trajectory of where we're going.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
right? Because let's say we go to space, we use SpaceX, we go to Mars, and then they start terraforming, right? Well, what are they going to use as a energy source? Power plants. They're going to create their own energy systems.
Yeah, they'll have to find ways, exactly, yeah, more rudimentary ways
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? But so then if you look at it, that's what I'm saying. It's like when you're like, oh, I'm looking at the past, you're looking at the future. It's like, but they're the same thing.
Yeah.
Humans are doing the same.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
right?
like there's something to be learned from both. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah. Humans are. Yeah, it's all very fascinating.
Yeah, totally. And it's not like totally out of the realm of possibility too, because it's like you could be like, oh, you guys are like crazy. But like, okay, so if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, you guys are nuts, like these are some outlandish theories, it's like, but did you even know about Neuralink? Because I remember I was at work and I was saying like, yeah, like we're gonna connect like technology to our human system, our spines, you know, and they thought I was like nuts. They were like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I was like, no, there's a company, Neuralink.
Yeah.
You know, and then they were like, wait, what? So I'm like, if you don't actually know what's going on technological wise,
yeah,
like it seems far-fetched, you know?
Yeah.
Remember that time I went to Montana and like we were like, oh yeah, I'm from Canada, and like they honestly thought we lived in igloos here. And I was like, are you what? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like
right,
there
right,
are different
yeah,
there's like the vocal minority. Majority, sorry. What was it? Vocal
minority?
Yeah. Or no, I guess they're the majority because like most people don't know what's going on. But again, that's why you need to be herded, right? So these people in Montana that thought Canadians lived in igloos, it's like, yeah, you just need to be herded, bro.
Right.
You shouldn't participate in our like back then, right? There was like some stipulations to be a voter. You had to have a certain amount of land.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Before, yeah.
But that wasn't because of like ownership or anything like that. It's just like if you had land, it meant you were smart. You knew how to use money. Because it's like, why would we be voting on things that make no? It's sort of like when people are like the climate change thing, and it's like, that's actually not going to contribute anything. Like you taking your bike to work is not going to do anything.
Right.
Like the fundamental flaw is that Canada provides 2% of the global climate issue.
Yeah.
So it's like, so what is our 2%? Even if we reverse that, 60% is coming from like China and India.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like half information. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's like
but you can't know everything.
Yeah.
So it's like the person in Montana, they probably know like a lot about skiing or something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
No, because it was in a skiing place that I was like staying.
Like, what's the best condition to go out there and ski?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know that stuff. Like, is today a good day to go skiing? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not to like harp on them, but I mean, like that's literally what they did. Like they were like I called them snowmads.
Okay.
So like they'd follow the snow.
Okay.
So
right.
That's why I call them snowmads. Like they're nomads, but for the snow. So like what a lot of people will do is they'd like it was in Jackson Hole. So like when it's summertime, they would fly to a different part of the country that had snow.
Right.
And they'd work there because they worked in like chalets.
Okay. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like their whole job was to snowboard or ski. So like it makes sense. Like, yeah, you know a lot about snowboarding and skiing, but like you don't know anything about SpaceX. You're like, oh, what's Elon Musk doing again? He's crazy. You know what I mean? Like that's your perspective, but it's like, no, he's pushing us forward. And I think that's what Elon Musk knows. He's like, we need to herd everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just Elon Musk, but like I think the 1% elite, they know this. That's why I don't harp on them.
Yeah, no.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's always the good ones. Sometimes there's the bad ones too. But like
yeah, so but I don't even know if it's like good or bad. I wonder if it's just like
true.
People are just pushing for their agenda. Like Elon Musk, is he good? Sure, but is he bad? Yes, as well. You know, it's like you just have a bunch of people that are like pushing their own agendas, and the one that's gonna win. It's like history, right?
Yeah.
History is written by the winner. So like we watched Pocahontas, and like, man, the colonials are so bad, you know?
Right.
But like we view ourselves as good because we live here
But you
now.
also wouldn't be
Move
here
on.
without all that.
Yeah, totally. Like, you know,
It's
like,
like sometimes something's just like they have to have happened, like
yeah,
to
sure,
get to
yeah,
this
yeah,
result.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Everything like happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Or has like everything's got like a positive and negative, I guess. But
I
like,
think that's why they say like
mm-hmm.
it was all meant to be here.
Yeah.
I don't think when like ancient spiritual people say like it was meant to be, I don't think what they're trying to say is like, I think they're talking about like fate and like,
Yeah.
because what is fate if not like cause and effect,
Mm-hmm.
action reaction,
Right.
Like you were like, oh, without that we wouldn't be here. It's like, yeah, without that cause we wouldn't have this effect. Without
Mm-hmm.
that action we didn't have this reaction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why things are the way they are.
Right.
Because they're the way they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're headed for a really cool world.
Yeah. I'm excited for when we get to Mars. It'll be very exciting to see.
Yeah, totally. But I don't know if I'd go or anything.
No, I mean like to go
Commercially would take a long time.
Yeah.
They'd have to send special units first to like
of course.
terraform.
Yeah, the thing is they have to send this is all like what's the word, like presumptuous, or like he wants to do it by 2022 is to send like 2
people?
No.
Oh,
People,
like,
not people first.
Mission,
Supply missions first.
Oh, just to send it there and leave
Send it there, leave it. Then
Cool.
the next, then in 20 every 2 years we are in line with Mars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So we're like closest.
In the perfect alignment that they need, yeah. So 2022 I think it was, and 2 supply missions. In 2024 we would do 4 missions, 2 supply and 2 people.
Wow.
So that those supply things they will be able to build and refuel the rockets that are there and come back home.
Damn.
But this is like 2024, 2022. It's like, it seems very early. And normally Elon Musk always does predict things,
Super
but
early.
sometimes it doesn't work out. But like that's the idea. If everything is working out correctly, this is what he wants by that time. By this time, like in 2022.
In an idealistic scenario.
Yeah. Because some things happen. Sometimes some things doesn't work out, or other things.
Totally.
So
It makes sense.
Yeah, they just can't always.
Interesting.
Won't always work out, but yeah. But like that's the idea. But to even have that kind of thing, to set a timeline, I think that's also good too, right?
Yeah, but all businesses do that, right?
No, I know, that's what I'm saying.
Long-term
Yeah.
objectives. It's like, yeah, that's just standard business practice.
No, exactly. Yeah. But in the meantime, they're also still like making the money or putting the satellites up there, or like doing these other missions for SpaceX, right? That are generating the money for them.
What was that other thing that he's like? So, all right, flying cars. He's like, we'd never have flying cars because, like, how would you? Well, one, how would you regulate it? And 2, like the sound.
Yeah.
But like he was saying, what we could do is we could go underground.
Yeah.
You know.
Underground. Yeah, he has multiple. That's another one too, right? The Boring Company.
Yeah.
That has the idea to make like fast travel, like Hyperloop, and there's all these sort of
so there you go, like
ideas of
like dang, bro, look at that, man. We should just give him all of our money and like please please Tony.
But I think they did with SpaceX with the like less amount of money, they've done so much.
Right, yeah, totally. He's like a real life Tony Stark, man.
Well, he was in Iron Man.
Yeah, true. He was. Yeah.
Which was funny.
Yeah, we're in for like a really interesting future. It's weird when you think about like how much ingenuity there is, and like how much there was in the past and how much we have to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes your life small,
right,
in perspective, because it's like we're just on this thing that's being propelled forward by a bunch of forces that we don't really control, but we can contribute to. You know, so like, but that's for everyone, right? Like Elon Musk can't control everything, but he can contribute to something.
Yeah,
you know, all you're doing is you're like tipping the scales one way or another.
Yeah,
you know. But even on the grander scheme of things, it's like it was already gonna tip that way anyways. If you look at it mathematically.
Right, I think he would think of it the same way.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of philosophers like believe in fate, right? Because of like mathematics, because it's just like you're just being propelled forward by
Yeah.
cause and effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Just a side note, but did you know that there's I don't know if it's Muslim, but it's something in like the hood, like oh, what's his name? Riza was talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a branch of philosophy or religion called mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to know like numerology and stuff. Like that was their religion,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and like that makes a lot of sense. Like, why are we not all looking at it mathematically?
Numerology is a bit different though.
Or like whatever he called it, mathematics. So like,
So maybe like that, yeah, but that would be more like the science people of the time.
but it's not science. It's a religion. Like they had to remember. It was like a, I don't want to say cult, but it was like it's like a religious body.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was like you had to know all these math things, and like it's sort of like the Quran. You had to be able to recite these mathematical things,
Right.
and it's like big in the hood.
Yeah, I think it just seems like like a field of people that were doing science, but it was just
totally.
like,
but now they turned into like
yeah, like we can
thing.
we can even say like some of these
I should look
scientists
into that,
are more
actually.
like religious, like
Yeah, they are.
so like that's what I'm saying. Like maybe it's something like that at that time.
Right.
Right.
Actually, yeah. I don't know enough about it, so I should really look more into it.
Right.
But it seems really, it seems like a logical, viewpoint. Because our world is really run by math, you know.
Yeah.
And right, it is, right. And they say like math is the language of the gods, not in terms of like it's the universal language as well, right? Because like we can all describe things mathematically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Fascinating. All right. So, Elon, you are a supreme being. They would call him a supreme being, right? It'd be like,
I guess, yeah.
right? If this was like ancient religion times, they'd be like, he is a prophet or a god, right? Think about it, right?
Yeah.
You would create stories of like he was able to see the world. He was speaking to God, which gave him the knowledge of how to create these amazing spaceship structures.
Yeah.
And he was ridiculed because nobody believed that he spoke directly to God. You know what I mean? Like it's totally, you could totally turn him into a religious leader.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. All right. So, so give your money to SpaceX, and don't forget to pick up some teas on ZenRealClothingCo.com.
Yeah.
SG Podcast for 20% off select items. Till next time.
Peace.
Happy travels. Bye.
Bye.